Welcome back, calm seekers of poker wisdom, to our tranquil journey through the mathematical heart of the game. Tonight, we continue our unhurried exploration, building directly upon the foundational understanding of hand equity that we gently established in our previous session. We move now to the practical application of that knowledge, addressing the ever-present question that echoes in every player's mind. Is my call worth it? Tonight, we delve into the profoundly important concept of pot odds. It's the indispensable tool that allows you to translate your hand's equity into a profitable decision, particularly when you're considering whether to call a bet with a drawing hand. Pot odds aren't just numbers. They are the mathematical scale upon which you weigh risk against potential reward, guiding you towards calls that are, over the long run, undeniably profitable. So, relax, listen, and allow the logic of pot odds to peacefully integrate into your strategic mind. Let's begin by defining pot odds with the calm clarity they deserve. Pot odds represent the ratio between the total amount of money currently in the pot, the reward, and the amount you must put into the pot to continue playing, the cost. This ratio tells you how much money you stand to win versus how much you have to risk for the chance to win it. It's expressed either as a ratio, e.g., 2-to-1 or 2.1, or as a percentage. Understanding this ratio is absolutely crucial for making informed decisions at the poker table, especially when you are on a draw, meaning you don't yet have the best hand, but you have a strong chance of improving it with future community cards. Let's walk through the simple calculation of pot odds with a serene example. Imagine a situation. The pot currently contains 100 chips. Your opponent bets 50 chips. This means the pot is now 150 chips. 100 chips already there, plus 50 chips from your opponent's bet. You must call 50 chips to continue playing the hand. To calculate your pot odds, you compare the amount you must call to the total size of the pot after your call. Amount to call? 50 chips. Total pot after your call is 100, the original pot, plus 50, opponent's bet, plus 50, your call, equals 200. So your pot odds are 50 chips to win 200 chips. If we simplify this ratio, it becomes 1-to-4, or 1.4. This means for every 1 chip you risk, you stand to win 4 chips. To convert this into a percentage, which is often easier to compare with your hand equity, you divide the amount you must call by the total pot after your call, equals amount to call divided by total pot after your call times 100. In our example, 50 divided by 200 times 100 equals 25%. This means you need to win the pot more than 25% of the time for your call to be profitable in the long run. Pot odds are fundamentally intertwined with hand equity, the concept we so thoroughly explored in our previous session. Hand equity, you'll recall, indicates the likelihood of your hand winning if it goes to showdown. Pot odds, on the other hand, help you determine whether the potential reward in the pot justifies the risk of calling given your hand's equity. This is where the magic happens, comparing these two numbers. The golden rule. You should only call a bet if your hand equity, your chance of winning, is greater than your pot odds, the percentage of the pot you need to win to break even. Let that principle gently resonate within you. It's the cornerstone of profitable calling decisions. Let's revisit our flush draw scenario from the previous session to illustrate this crucial relationship. You hold Ace of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds. The flop is 5 of Diamonds, 7 of Diamonds, King of Spades. You have 9 outs to hit your flush. We calculated that your hand equity, the probability of hitting your flush by the river, given both turn and river cards, is approximately 35.0%. Now, let's consider the pot odds you're being offered in two different scenarios. Scenario A, favorable pot odds. Pot is 100 chips. Opponent bets 25 chips. Amount to call is 25 chips. Total pot after your call is 100, the original pot, plus 25, opponent's bet, plus 25, your call, equals 150 chips. Pot odds as a percentage equals 25 divided by 150 times 100 equals 16.7%. In this scenario, your hand equity, 35.0%, is significantly greater than your pot odds, 16.7%. Decision, calling here is a mathematically profitable decision. You're getting a great price to chase your flush. You only need to win 16.7% of the time to break even, but you expect to win 35% of the time. This is a clear, long-term winner. Scenario B, unfavorable pot odds. Pot is 100 chips. Opponent bets 100 chips, a pot-sized bet. Amount to call is 100 chips. Total pot after your call is 100 plus 100 plus 100 equals 300 chips. Pot odds as a percentage equals 100 divided by 300 times 100 equals 33.3%. In this scenario, your hand equity, 35.0%, is just slightly greater than your pot odds, 33.3%. Decision, calling here is technically profitable, but just barely. While your equity is higher than the pot odds, the margin is very thin. This is a spot where other factors, which we'll discuss, might make you lean towards folding. This comparison, this tranquil yet precise weighing of your chances against the price, forms the very backbone of intelligent poker strategy. Let's explore some common drawing hands and their approximate equities to see how they interact with pot odds. Remember, these are for hitting your draw by the river, with 2 cards still to come. Open-ended straight draw, 8 outs, approximately 31.5% equity. Flush draw, 9 outs, approximately 35.0% equity. Gut shot straight draw, 4 outs, approximately 16.5% equity. Pair plus flush draw, example, top pair plus flush draw, 9 flush plus 5 pair outs, approximately 54% equity. This is a very powerful draw. Now, let's look at what pot odds percentages correspond to common bet sizes. Opponent bets 1/4 pot. You need to call 1 unit into a total pot of 1, current pot, plus 0.25, opponent's bet, plus 0.25, your call, equals 1.5 units. Your call is 0.25. 0.25 divided by 1.5 equals approximately 16.7%. Very favorable odds. Opponent bets half pot. You need to call 1 unit into a total pot of 1 plus 0.5 opponent's bet plus 0.5 your call equals 2 units. Your call is 0.5. 0.5 divided by 2 equals 25%. Opponent bets 2/3 pot. You need to call 1 unit into a total pot of 1 plus 0.67 opponent's bet plus 0.67 your call equals 2.34 units. Your call is 0.67. 0.67 divided by 2.34 equals approximately 28.6%. Opponent bets full pot. You need to call 1 unit into a total pot of 1 plus 1 opponent's bet plus 1 your call equals 3 units. Your call is 1. 1 divided by 3 equals 33.3%. Opponent bets 1.5 times the pot. You need to call 1 unit into a total pot of 1 plus 1.5 opponent's bet plus 1.5 your call equals 4 units. Your call is 1.5. 1.5 divided by 4 equals 37.5%. Very unfavorable odds. By calmly comparing the equity percentages of various draws with these common pot odds percentages, you can quickly determine whether a call is justified. An open-ended straight draw, 31.5% equity, is generally a profitable call against a half-pot bet, 25%, or a 2/3 pot bet, 28%. It starts to become borderline or unprofitable against a pot-sized bet, 33.3%. A flush draw, 35% equity, is profitable against all bets up to and including a pot-sized bet, 33.3%. It's still good even against a slightly larger bet, though less so. A gut shot straight draw, 16.5% equity, is rarely a profitable call based purely on direct pot odds, unless the bet is very, very small. Example, an opponent bets less than 1/4 of the pot. This leads us to our next crucial consideration. While direct pot odds are essential, the skilled player understands that they don't tell the entire story, especially with drawing hands. This is where the profound concept of implied odds gracefully enters our strategic landscape. Implied odds account for the additional money you expect to win from your opponent on later streets if you hit your draw. They factor in the potential future bets you can extract beyond just the current pot. Imagine our scenario B, where you had a flush draw, 35.0% equity, and faced a pot-sized bet, 33.3% pot odds. While technically a slightly profitable call, it was very thin. But what if you knew your opponent was very loose and aggressive? What if you knew that if you hit your flush on the river, they would almost certainly pay you off with another big bet? In this case,
The implied odds make your call much, much more valuable. Even if the direct pot odds barely justify the call, the promise of significant future winnings if you get there, complete your draw, can transform a marginal call into a highly profitable one.
When are implied odds particularly strong? Deep stacks. The deeper your stack, and your opponent's stack, is relative to the pot, the more money you can potentially win on later streets. This is why implied odds are particularly potent in cash games, where stacks are often very deep. Loose calling opponents. Against opponents who are prone to calling with weaker hands or even making big bluffs, you have a higher likelihood of extracting more value after you hit your draw. They are more likely to pay you off. Disguised draws. When you hit your draw, and it's not obvious to your opponent, as in hitting a flush when only one suit was on the board on the turn, then another card of that suit comes on the river, or hitting an unobvious straight, your opponent is more likely to pay you off. When are implied odds particularly weak or non-existent? Shallow stacks. If you or your opponent have very few chips left behind, shallow stacks, there's little to no additional money to be won on later streets, even if you hit your draw. Direct pot odds become paramount here. Tight, alert opponents. Against opponents who are very good at folding when you hit a strong hand, or who are short-stacked themselves, your implied odds diminish significantly. They won't pay you off. Obvious draws. If the draw is very clear, as in 3 suited cards on the flop, then another of that suit on the turn, your opponent will often recognize it and might stop betting or call smaller amounts, reducing your ability to extract future value. The interplay between direct pot odds and implied odds is where the nuanced art of profitable poker truly resides. It's a calm, continuous assessment of mathematical probability balanced with psychological insight into your opponent. Let's gently consider common mistakes players make regarding pot odds so we may calmly avoid them. First, miscalculating the ratio. This is the most basic error. Players might forget to add the opponent's bet and their own call to the total pot when calculating the percentage. Always remember, amount to call divided by current pot plus opponent's bet plus your call. Second, ignoring implied odds or overestimating them. A player might fold a strong draw simply because the direct pot odds are slightly unfavorable, missing out on potentially massive implied odds from a deep-stacked, loose opponent. Conversely, players might chase weak gut shots with very poor direct odds, blindly hoping for implied odds against a tight opponent with a small stack. A balanced understanding is key. Third, chasing draws with insufficient equity. This is a trap for many. Calling bets when your hand simply doesn't have enough outs to justify it, even with generous pot odds. A good example is a single over card, as in you hold ace-king
and the flop is 7-7-2. You have 2 outs, the 2 remaining aces, to hit top pair. That's very low equity, around 8.5% by the river. You need incredibly good pot odds, better than 10-1, to justify calling here, which you almost never get. This is often where disciplined folding saves significant chips. Fourth, not adjusting to opponent tendencies. A rigid application of pot odds without considering whether your opponent will pay you off, implied odds, or fold equity, is a major flaw. The numbers are static, but the game is dynamic.
To enhance your efficiency and reduce mental strain at the table, there are several tools and resources that can help you quickly calculate pot odds and hand equity. While you can't use these during live play, practicing with them off-table is profoundly beneficial. Online equity calculators. Websites and apps allow you to input your hand, the board cards, and even your opponent's estimated range to get precise equity percentages. Use these for post-session review. Poker training software. Many advanced poker tools integrate real-time, though still simulated, equity and pot odds displays for training purposes. Mental math shortcuts. With practice, you can quickly estimate pot odds. For example, if you're calling half the pot, you're getting 25% odds. If you're calling a third of the pot, you're getting 20% odds. If you're calling a quarter of the pot, you're getting 16.7% odds. This comes with calm practice. Rule of 2 and 4. A quick estimation for hitting your outs. On the flop, for one card, turn, multiply your outs by 2. For example, 9 outs for a flush times 2 equals approximately 18% chance. On the flop for 2 cards, turn and river, multiply your outs by 4. For example, 9 outs for a flush times 4 equals approximately 36% chance. These are rough estimates, but incredibly useful for quick, on-the-fly decision-making. Let's conclude our tranquil session on pot odds by considering how this concept subtly shifts in different game formats, cash games versus tournaments. In cash games, where chip stacks are often deep and players can easily rebuy more chips, implied odds play a more significant role. Since there's ample money behind to win if you hit your draw, players are generally more willing to call with speculative drawing hands, even if the direct pot odds are slightly unfavorable. The long-term profitability from hitting a big hand and getting paid off is immense. This leads to a generally looser, more drawing-heavy style of play in many cash game environments. In tournaments, especially as you get closer to the money, or in the later stages, pot odds often take precedence over implied odds, and chip preservation becomes critical. Tournament chips have a fluctuating monetary value, a concept we will deeply explore in a future session on the Independent Chip Model, or ICM. The risk of busting out, being eliminated from the tournament by chasing a draw that doesn't hit, can be devastating. With shallow stacks, there's little to no implied odds anyway. Therefore,
Players in tournaments tend to be more cautious. They often require more favorable direct pot odds to justify calling a bet, or they need a very strong hand with high equity and good reverse implied odds, meaning even if you hit, your opponent might fold, or you might hit a second-best hand to commit a significant portion of their stack. This often results in a tighter, more disciplined approach to calling withdrawals. Recognizing these nuances and adapting your strategy accordingly is a hallmark of truly advanced play. The calm, calculated application of pot odds, in conjunction with hand equity and an awareness of implied odds, allows you to navigate the diverse landscape of poker with both precision and profitability. As this calming session gracefully nears its end, allow the profound simplicity and power of pot odds to settle within your strategic framework. You now possess the second fundamental pillar of profitable poker decision-making. By comparing the price you're being offered, pot odds, with your true chance of winning, hand equity, you gain the clarity to answer that crucial question: is your call worth it? This knowledge empowers you to move beyond gut feelings and into the realm of mathematical certainty, making choices that are not merely hopeful but demonstrably advantageous over the long expanse of your poker journey. In our future sessions, we will build further, introducing the powerful concept of expected value, which synthesizes these ideas into a holistic measure of profitability. For now, drift peacefully with the confidence that you are systematically building a robust foundation of poker understanding. May your mind be clear, your decisions profitable, and your rest deeply restorative. Good night.